Hi everybody and welcome to Mother Can. Join me as I turn my TWA into these calf length box braids. First I spray my hair with the Mielle leave-in conditioner and then going with this Creme of Nature heat protector just because I wanted to blow my hair out to just give it a little bit of a stretch before I started. So I'm using the mirror behind me to keep an eye on my partings. To make sure that they come out straight basically. Don't mind my comb. You know, we've all got that comb that we just can't get rid of because it just does what it does so well. Make sure you've got some clips close by just to keep your partings tidy. Now the sections on this hairstyle, they're going to be quite big because you know how it is as a mother. We've got no time to be sitting down for hours and hours. We need to get the job done in and out. So I use a TXTR Shine and Sculpt control paste for this hairstyle. It's not something I've used before in my hair, but I did use it in my daughter's hair and it held really well. As I used it a little bit, I found that it wasn't really smoothing down the hair as much as I wanted it to. So I just started to kind of use a edge control as well as the TXTR Shine and Sculpt paste. Kind of just use them together. It gave really good shine, but I think because of the length of my actual hair, it wasn't giving the desired effect at all. But yeah, it did a little something, but not everything that I needed it to do. So this is the first section that I'm sectioning here. There's going to be three parts at the back, 3 sections at the back, and yeah. So this is how big the sections are going to be at the back. I can fit 3 in here quite happily. And now here's the 3 sections with the rubber bands in place. The hair I'm using for this hairstyle is the Expression Ultra Braid in colour 1 and the Expression Lagos Braid also in colour 1. Don't mind me, I'm just vibing. This is the Expression Ultra Braid out of the packet, so you can see the ends of this hair is blunt, so that's what we want because the hair is going to be quite long. So I've taken a bit of the hair bundle, as much as I wanted to use, and this is the piece that we're going to feed through the rubber band section between the scalp and the rubber band with the crochet needle. So when I put the crochet needle in, I put it like going downwards towards the neck. I just find that the hair lays a little bit flatter when I do it this way, as opposed to feeding the crochet needle upwards towards like the crown of the head. When you feed the crochet needle in, make sure the latch is closed. And then once the needle is through, you open the latch, hook a little bit of the hair in, close the latch and pull the whole thing back through the rubber band, just like I'm doing here. So when you pull the hair through, you want to make sure that both of the ends are more or less lined up and equal at the bottom. So what I like to do is use whatever edge control product I'm using to put on the ends of my actual hair, and then use the hair that I've just fed through to kind of twist it around my actual hair so it kind of just hides my hair, and then I make that braiding hair that's going to be one part of the braid that we're gonna make. I hope that makes sense. So you can see here, I'm putting the product in, kind of stroking it down, but also twisting the braiding hair around it. Then I'm going to take another section from the main bundle, and you want to make sure that the section that you take off is that the sides are going to be equal to the hair that you fed through the rubber band. And then all I do is take this new section and place it over the top of the mini ponytail that we made basically with the rubber band, and this is to hide the rubber band. And then you just continue to start braiding down. So out of all the hair that we've used, there should be only 3 sections. The hair that we fed through initially, that is one section, and then the hair that we laid over the top of the rubber band, that will be the other 2 sections, and then you start to braid. Another point to make is that because the hair is going to be so long, you will have to run your fingers through it as you're plaiting, because otherwise it can get mad. Yeah, it can get crazy, and then at the end of the hair, it sometimes it's a case of we just got to take scissors to it and start again. I've plaited down a little bit. You can see the hair is getting long. The only way I can manage this is to put the hair in my mouth. Do not come for me because you see me have synthetic hair in my mouth, okay? This is how we get the job done, yeah? And let's be honest, some of us have put worse things in our mouth. We move on. So now I'm going to take the Expression Lagos braid, and this is what we're going to use to add length to the braid that we just made. And also have a kind of seamless end at the bottom. But I'm pulling off a small section of the Lagos braid bundle, and I'm adding it to the braid that we've just made. Then you're going to plait it in once or twice, and then you're going to add some more hair into it. So what I like to do is, as you're plaiting the Lagos bundle in, there's always going to be one section of the 3 that come up shorter. So when I'm adding the hair in, I'm adding hair to the shorter section to make sure it's level with the other sections. And again, remember to be finger combing the ends of the hair out, because it can still get really knotty even though we haven't got much left to go. So here I'm just doing a quick length check just to make sure it's all going good, that I'm liking it. At this point, whether I like it or whether I don't like it is happening, so boy, yeah. Okay, so standing on the chair, you can see how long this hairstyle is going to be. We're reaching calves, yeah? This hair is going to be saying something. Another point to make is that because we're using the whole length of the bundle, it can get quite knotty. So before I continued plaiting the hair, I just went through with a wide tooth comb and combed out the whole bundle, just to make it easier and to make the job quicker. So again here, we're using the needle to feed through down towards the neck, between the rubber band and the scalp, with the latch closed. We're going to hook the hair in, close the latch, and then pull the hair through. Remember to add your product, your control product, edge control, whatever it is that you're using. Make sure you add it to the ends of your hair, especially if you are doing this on a TWA, because you need that hair to get tucked in. There can be no sign of this little ponytail hanging outside of the braid. You'll look wild. And again, put the other bit of hair over the rubber band as much as you possibly can to hide the rubber band, and then you should be left with 3 sections to continue plaiting down. So here, this is how long all the braids are going to be. It's going to be quite long. I personally could go longer, but you know, each to their own. But yeah, I'm just a bit extra like that. Okay, back to business. So I've gone ahead and I've started the next section up now, which is going to start at the temple, at your temple, and go all the way around to the other temple. Also see that I've started to use smaller clips just because the other larger black ones were not being effective enough in terms of holding my hair up. I've got all rubber bands in here for the second row of braids. I've gone ahead, I've put the product in just to sleek it down. Also make sure each section that you're doing, you're combing it through. So this is a slowed down version of me doing the braid at the front of my hair. I've already fed the hair through, and in my right hand I'm holding the other section that I'm going to use to put over the rubber band to add to the braid. So I've gone ahead and I've completed the whole second row, and this is how it looks. Alright, so we're at the last section now, the top of the head, and we are going to squeeze 2 plaits in here. We're not doing no more than 2, okay? You know when you go in those shops and they're like, yeah, we've got like 10 plaits left. Babes, no we ain't, we've got 2. So I've parted it down the middle here, and as I've bent my head you can actually see how I've covered the rubber bands on the plaits behind it. We're not trying to see any visible rubber bands because they can be a little bit shiny sometimes, and you'll notice it. You'll notice that the bands are showing. So it is important obviously throughout the entire head that you're smoothing down those sections and whatever have you, but the front is where I pay real attention and probably use the most product in terms of smoothing down and making sure everything's laid flat. So you just see me here putting the product on as much as possible. I've banded the 2 sections now, and you can see that I've put the bands in quite far back. I didn't want them in the middle of the section. I wanted them to be quite far back just because I didn't want like the two front plaits to just be falling by themselves if the hair was coming to the side. I wanted it to fall back with the rest of the plaits. So you can see now I've completed the 2 plaits. They're all in, it's all good to go. So I'm just going to go in now with the Camille Rose Spiked Honey Mousse to lay all over the top of the braids. So when you're putting the mousse on, you don't only want to just be covering the braids, you also want to be covering your hair, especially if you are doing this on a TWA, because sometimes we do have these little flyaways, bits are shorter than others that may not have made it into the rubber bands. So we just want to make sure that there's enough product on these sections, just so you know, we don't have any issues. I really go in heavy with the mousse all the way around, at the top, at the back, all in between. I really go in and make sure everything's smoothed down nicely. Now as the mousse is on, you can see me deliberately placing the braids where I want them to fall, because if you just, you know, put them anywhere and then you put the headscarf on, however you've put that headscarf on is the way you're going to encourage that braid to fall. So what I like to do is make sure that they're all in place to where I want them to be, then I put the headscarf on after that. So I'm just going to wrap up this head. It's quite late in the night when I'm doing this. If it was the daytime, I might have went under the dryer, or I might have not, just depends on what I've got going on. But I'm just going to put this headscarf on and hit the sack. It's the next morning now, and I've poured some boiling hot water into the sink to soak the braids. Now I know a lot of the time people use this method, the hot water method, to they're sealing the ends, but what I like to do is not only seal the ends, but I like to kind of dip as much of the braid in as possible, as close to my scalp as possible, obviously without burning and also without allowing the steam to get to my hair, because we know, you know, Afro hair and steam is a different type of connection, and that's why I've still got my headscarf on as well. But as I was saying, I like to make sure the hot water reaches as much as the braid as possible, because it also gives it a little bit of movement. It removes the stiffness from the braid, and also lays down any flyaways, any kinks that might be in the braids, and things like that. Can I just say, it's mad how sexy I went to bed with this headscarf, and in the morning I'm looking wild. Like, why can't the headscarf just stay on properly? Don't mind my t-shirt. This is the t-shirt I use to colour my hair. You want to make sure that you've got a towel close by, because it's going to drip. Yeah, it's going to drip otherwise. And also the plaits are still going to be very, very hot. So you need to really be careful when you're doing this part of it. So you're just going to use a towel to pat it dry. It's not going to remove all of the water because it soaks up quite a lot of water. If you want to, you can take a hairdryer to it, but for me that just makes the flyaways come up sooner than they need to. So I just blot it with the towel, remove as much water as possible, and the rest is just going to have to drip. So this is the finished product, guys. Obviously you can use whatever products you desire to use. You don't have to use the ones that I've used. Just make sure that the edge control you use is a strong enough one to hold your hair. Altogether, I've done 23 plaits, and it took me just under 3 hours to complete. So I think I've done that in good time. I did start it quite late, so I was quite tired towards the end, but I got it done. But I like it because although it's quick and it's easy for me to do, the length of it still gives drama. You know, it still gives, oh, she did that.